Hello, today I'm going to talk about my autumn slash quarantine slash self-isolation TBR thing because I'm so excited about self-isolation. I'm not excited about COVID-19, but if there's one thing I'm excited about, it's the self-isolation part of it because I now get more time than ever to read. Even before this all started sort of happening or becoming like a huge thing, I was already reading more than I usually do this year. So my TBR for this year is 60 books, which doesn't seem like a lot, but usually I read about 25 books. I already talked about the books that I read in summer in my last video, and I did end up actually reading most of them. So that's good, and now I'm going to continue that trend. Here we go. So 1 month of autumn in Australia has already happened. So in that month, the books that I read were, firstly I read Glyceride. I hope I'm saying that right. So Glyceride is by Junji Ito. I'm not sure. I literally went to Japan and my Japanese didn't get 1 ounce better. Yeah, I read this at the start of March really quickly. It took me like 20 minutes. I was watching a booktuber's video and I can't remember her name, so I'll just like put it here, I guess. She was reading this book. She said it was really quick and you could just find it online. I thought it was gruesome and not very pleasant, which I guess is what horror is meant to be. But I don't know, for some reason there's been other gruesome horror that I've watched or read before that I actually like. I think the reason I didn't like this one particularly is because one of the main things I like about horror is suspense and twists, which this book didn't really have much of that. It was pretty easy to figure out what was happening and what was going to end up happening. So I ended up giving that book a 2, or I guess that little small graphic novella of 20 pages. The next book I read was an audiobook called The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, and this book is by Mackenzie Lee. The reason I read it is because it is a gay romance and that is what I gravitate towards in life. I really liked the romance and sometimes the plot was pretty good, but sometimes it just dragged, especially in the middle towards the end. I really liked the first part of it a lot more and then it just sort of petered off for me. I gave this a 3.5. Next I read The Hostile Hospital by Lemony Snicket, or whatever his actual name is. I don't know, I'm just gonna say Lemony Snicket, I don't care. I'm trying to do this thing where I finish this series finally. I read a lot of this series growing up, and by a lot I meant I read the 3rd book like 20 times. And I read I think the 1st and the 2nd book maybe once growing up. And I also, for some reason, my family didn't clue me in on the fact that they were like numbered, and I bought number 13 when I was like 10 and read number 13. So I sort of spoiled myself, but I never read any of the books between number 3 and 13 growing up, so I started rereading this series maybe last year. Got up to number 6, so I read 4, 5, 6, stopped. Reread 6 at the start of this year because I really liked 6, and then I read 7 and 8. So I read this at the start of autumn, liked it quite a bit. I gave it a 3.5. 3.5 is pretty good for me, like, because that's a 7 out of 10, which means it was enjoyable and I would recommend it. The only thing with this is like, I found the actual like setting and plot a little boring, but I really like the characters and the conversations quite a lot, and where the overarching like mystery is going is really cool. I feel like as this series goes on, I'm going to enjoy the books even more and more leading up to 13 because I'm obsessed with like the mystery part of it. I then read Heartstopper, which is another gay romance. It's a graphic novel. It's by Alice Osman. I'm looking over here to like see all these authors' names. I guess I can just look here. It's by Alice Osman. This book was so cute. It took me like an hour to read. It was very short, and I already, as soon as I finished it, I went and I ordered volume 2, and I'm waiting for that to come in the mail, and that will be on my autumn TBR for the continuing months of autumn. But this was really cute. I really enjoyed the gay romance. Obviously, that's the whole point. I gave it a 4 stars. I think the only thing I didn't really like about it is sometimes I thought the illustrations were a little distracting with how simple they were. I'm not sure how to explain it. I might just be used to reading like Sandman by Neil Gaiman and like this beautiful illustration stuff, and I understand that this is like a web comic thing, so obviously it's like quite like simple, like things like that, like it sort of like distracts me and takes me out of it a little bit. I then read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. I read this because Ariel Bissett loves it and she's my favorite booktuber. I gave this a 3.5, I think. Oh no, I just gave it a 3. Ooh, whoa, okay. So I gave this a 3. I think what happened with this book is I really was a little hyped up for it due to Ariel Bissett, and I love Ariel Bissett, so it's fine, I'll take it. And also the other thing is that I really had a high hopes for the sort of premise of this book. I just realized I haven't been giving like the plot for any of these books, which I always do with these videos. I always forget to give the plot of the books and I just expect everyone to know them all. This book is about a woman in her 20s living in New York, I think. She has been given a lot of inheritance by her dead parents, and she decides to take a year of rest and relaxation, or a year of hibernation, and by sleeping like 20 hours a day. And it's about her trying to sort of find meaning or happiness through this experiment she's doing. So I was really excited about that premise, but it just ended up not panning out the way I wanted it to pan out, which was I wanted it to do a little bit more with her inner self. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I felt like a lot of, for a book that's meant to be about self-isolation in a sense, I felt like a lot of this was focusing on her relationships with other people, and I was just sort of like, okay. Some parts of it just like didn't entice me at all, and some of it really did, so I just gave it a 3, I guess. So those are all the books I read in March, and now my TBR for the rest of autumn is, firstly, this. Oh my god, why can't I even? This is, so this is the rest of my TBR for autumn. No, not just this. These books take like 3 hours to read, but these are 5 of the 10 books. I am nearly done with number 9, The Carnivorous Carnival. I'm really enjoying this. I think it's going to be a 4 stars, which is really cool because only number 3 and number 6 so far have been 4 stars for me. But yeah, this one I'm really enjoying. We're getting a little bit more into the mystery side of things again, and like the evolving plot over numerous books, which is really cool. Trying not to spoil. And then obviously I've got the other 4, number 10 to 13. I don't know if I even said, but this is the series of unfortunate events. I sort of just assume that everyone knows what that series is, but if you don't, that's what it's called. Next, I'm also reading, finally, I'm reading The Well of Ascension, number 2 of the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I read number 1 a few years ago now, and I bought this one as soon as I finished the first one, which would probably mean that like myself wanted to read the second one, but for some reason, like, I bought it, I just sort of put it on my shelf, and I was like, I'll just come back to it. I don't even know. So I was like just staring at it for like 2 years, being like, when am I gonna read you? And then I decided, if I'm gonna ever read this book, it's gonna be now, when I have all this extra time to read a fat boy like this. So here we go, and I'm 90 pages in so far, and I'm actually quite enjoying this. I'm excited to be brought back into this magic system, especially, which I think is a really cool magic system. I like Vin, the main character, but yeah, I can't really say anything else because there'll be spoilers. But this is a high fantasy series, and it's meant to be sort of like the gateway drug to Brandon Sanderson novels, this series, so that's why I'm sort of reading it first. But yeah, I am really enjoying this so far, so we'll see how it goes. I'm also reading The Night Circus. I'm listening to it, an audiobook. I'm about 1/4 through so far. This book is by Erin Morganson. So yeah, I'm 1/4 through this right now. I'm feeling a little bored by it, which is normal for me with most books. I usually am quite bored by majority of books, but especially bored by this one because there is so much description and no plot when it comes to this book. The narrator is talking in a very drony, like mysterious voice, like, whoa, it's a circus at night, and it's just like a little too much, and also makes me want to go to sleep. But the thing is, I'm reading this one on an audiobook, and I was like, I might as well just like continue to listen to it, because it's way easier to listen to a book than to actually read it, because it can be a lot more passive. So with a book like this where you can sort of zone out for a minute and not miss anything, it's not too, I'll just keep reading it, you know, until I literally can't get myself to do it anymore, or I finish it and I give it 2 stars. Already know it's gonna be like a 1 or 2 stars, so that's that. The next book I want to read is Heartstopper by Alice Osman Volume 2, which is coming in the mail at the moment. When this arrives, I'll just read it in an hour really quickly. Like, I'll be like probably working from home and like it'll come in the mail and I'll just be like, lunch break. The next book I want to read, which is like continue the train of sequels or like installment number 2s of series. I want to read The Dollhouse, which is, I think it's called The Dollhouse. Yeah, The Doll's House by Neil Gaiman, which is volume 2 in the Sandman series, which is a comic series by Neil Gaiman. I think it's set in the DC world, but I really like Neil Gaiman. I've read quite a few of his novels, and I've liked all of them. So I was like, oh, I like graphic novels and manga. Like, let's read some comics, which I've never done before, and I'm really enjoying it. I've read volume 1 and it was great. So I picked up volume 2 recently for my self-isolation period, and should be getting around to this in the next 2 months. I sort of want to read this whole entire series this year. I think I could try and do that because they don't take too long to read. The last book that's on my TBR for autumn, I think this should be 10 books. I don't know if I'm missing anything. I'm not missing anything. So this is number 10 on my TBR, which would make 15 books for autumn, which is And the Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini. I think I've shown this book before on my channel, and that would be because it's been on my TBR for years, like Mistborn 2, and I finally want to get around to some books that have just been sitting on my shelf staring at me, and I can't put up with them staring at me anymore, so they're getting read. And I'm gonna feel better about myself. I've read The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns. I love A Thousand Splendid Suns. It's in my 5 top books of all time. And I really want to read this because I think I'll enjoy it quite a bit. It looks really beautiful already, and like it's gonna make me cry, and I'm really excited about it. So that's 15 books for my autumn TBR that I want to read to keep on track for reading 60 books in a year, because 4 seasons. Maths. So where I am in Australia, it's not full lockdown yet. So yesterday I quickly did like the last thing I'm going to do that is non-essential, which is going to op shops to buy books because priorities. So I did buy a few books yesterday at op shops, and I'm really excited about them, and a lot of them are quite short, so I feel like maybe if I want to take out one of these books from my TBR and put another one in, these are probably going to be the books that I do that for. So firstly, I got 2 Murakami books, which I was so excited about that I was able to find these for $3 and $4. So I got What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. So this is really short. I think this is an essay, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. It's like a little essay memoir thing. I don't know, it's non-fiction. So I thought this would be really cute to read because I read Kafka on the Shore during summer. Really enjoyed it, so I want to try and get to more Murakami. Also got A Wild Sheep Chase, which is in the same editions as my Norwegian Wood and Kafka on the Shore, so I can keep adding to them, which I'm really happy about. This is like gonna be about nightmares and sex and cats and sheep and whatever else, you know, whatever a usual Murakami book is about. Should be fun, should be wild and a little crazy, and I'm not gonna understand half of it, but that's why I love it, you know what I mean? I also read Never Let Me Go over the summer, which is by Kazuo Ishiguro. I just say Ishiguro because I don't know how to say Ishiguro, actually, because I don't know how to say his first name or last name, it seems like. But I read Never Let Me Go, really liked it, gave it a 4 stars over summer. So I've also got The Buried Giant here because this is one of the books I wanted to read by him next, so I got a copy for myself, so I'm really excited to read that. Also got The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. So this has been on my to be read for a really long time. It is so short. I'm really actually quite happy about this copy. I feel like it's like from the 80s. Everyone knows what this is, I'm pretty sure. It's like a really well-known sci-fi series, which is meant to be really goofy and funny, I think. So if I want something lighthearted, I might pick this up. Also got a copy of Harry Potter number 2, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, because if you look over here, I have number 1, number 4, 5, and 2 copies of number 7. So I saw this for $4 in the op shop, and I was like, you know, I don't have a copy of that one, so let's slide that in there. And oh, that is beautiful. That is so beautiful. Now I just need number 3 and 6. I'm thinking actually when I get number 6, I want to reread it because I really enjoyed number 6 and I haven't read it in so long because I love Dumbledore. The last book I got from the op shop for really cheap was Slaughterhouse 5 by Vonnegut. Yes, obviously, Kurt Vonnegut. Oh, I might have already read this actually. Okay, I've already read this and I didn't realize, but I don't have my own copy of it. So it's nice to have my own copy of a book I've read. This is a classic. This had like time travel and aliens and stuff in it. I don't remember, but I remember I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4. So now I've got a copy of Slaughterhouse 5 for myself, which is really great. Those are all the books that I've acquired recently in the last like month or so, and all the books that I plan to read or have read this autumn during quarantine. And I'm really excited to go to these books and to hit my goal of 60 books in 1 year, which I never dreamt I would ever do. I'm so excited. Hopefully I actually do it. My highest goal to ever get to was 40 books in a year. I thought that would be amazing, and now to like be like on the track to read 60 books in a year, it's pretty insane, even if a lot of them are graphic novels. So I'll see how this goes.